Hi, and welcome to episode 104, Betsy, of the Dinner Sisters podcast. We're two sisters taking on the nightly challenge of dinner. I'm Kate Schultz, living and working in Rhode Island, actually podcasting from the District of Columbia, our nation's capital today.
Very fun, on the road.
On the road. Mm-hmm. I'm a passionate cook and recipe collector, even while traveling, and always thinking about my next meal.
And I'm Betsy Wallace. I live, work, and raise a family in Atlanta, Georgia. I love dinner time, but can always use help planning and cooking for my family of 5. I've got kids. They are 5, 7, and 10.
Our goal with this podcast? Well, we want to cook a little better, learn a little bit about food, and most importantly, figure out what the heck to have for dinner. And here's how this works. Like every week, we have 3 recipes that we cooked and reviewed from popular food blogs, internet chefs, anywhere I can find a recipe. We'll have all these recipes, tips, the smorgasbord, and our shopping list on our website at dinnersisters.com. You can also get them sent directly to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter, which I write myself, if you'd like to preview the recipes before listening.
This week's recipe were honey, lime, and chipotle for the perfect pork tenderloin from Parade Magazine, marinated tofu with peanuts and charred bean sprouts from Bon Appetit, and shrimp marinade from Dinner at the Zoo.
Marinades are, if I'm really 100% honest, something I struggle with. Just because, I mean, it's funny to even say this, but I have a hard time planning ahead. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm good at, like, the recipe I know I want to cook. Yeah. But when it comes to actually, like, marinating something and then cooking, I'm like, that seems like too much planning. I don't know what my problem is.
Yeah.
But, you know, they add so much flavor and can make a simple meal even more delicious, which is something I think we're always striving for on this podcast. So this episode is a little bit of a challenge to see if I could make marinades something I commit to in dinner prep.
Yeah, I agree, Kate. I don't know what that is. I have a little marinade mental block as well. But then when I do it, I'm always so happy because it really does take whatever you're making to the next level in a pretty easy way. So yeah, I think this was just a really fun episode to try and find some more recipes that might inspire me to make this a regular practice in my life. So yeah, let's
push our boundaries a bit, right?
Yep, exactly. We're always growing here on the Dinner Sisters podcast. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do we have first?
Well, first recipe is honey, lime, and chipotle for the perfect pork tenderloin from Parade Magazine. Quite the promises in that title. So pork tenderloin is one of those easy weeknight proteins, and I don't think it gets enough love. You know, it's really, like, I almost think it's easier than a chicken.
Yeah, it is so easy, and they go on sale.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah. So here's another idea for that pork tenderloin that's on sale. And this recipe is all about that sweet, hot, and a little smoky flavor in a roast that, you know, like I said, doesn't take that much time in the oven. So to make the marinade, you combine orange juice, lime juice, some lime zest, honey, salt, a little garlic powder, cumin, oregano, a chipotle chili, the kind that are canned, and then you have the adobo sauce that comes in the can with the chilies. And you just blend it up in a food processor or blender or whatever you got. I actually, there's like, my Ninja has a smoothie attachment.
Oh.
Like smoothie cups, which is the perfect size for making marinades and dressings. So if you have a smoothie cup attachment for your like Ninja blender, try that out.
Nice.
Just saying. Yeah. It goes really well. In any case, this all goes in a big Ziploc bag, and you reserve some of the sauce for later. The rest is used as your marinade, and you just pop it in the fridge for at least 2 hours and up to 24 hours. And then to make the roast, you take the tenderloin out of the bag and sear it in a large skillet on all sides. Then you put the whole skillet and the tenderloin in a 425-degree oven for 15 minutes, or, you know, about whenever it's what you want it to be, your desired temperature. So again, meat thermometer, guys, this is what you got to get. Make sure you let it rest for at least 10 minutes before serving, and then you just slice it up. So how did you like this, Betsy?
I like this. Like you said, pork loins are just easy.
They go so quickly.
They do go really quickly, yeah. And I like this adobo flavor in here. I didn't think I was worried about it being too much of a kick. I didn't think it was. And it was also something that we don't, you know, we just don't use those flavors too often on the recipes. So I thought that was kind of nice. The searing was a little smoky, and I don't know, but it was fast. So I felt like, all right, this is okay. I don't know if I was doing something not great there or if it was just the recipe.
I was actually going to say something to that myself. It did smoke out the house a bit. There's a lot of sugar in that marinade with all the juice.
Oh, yeah.
And the honey. Yeah. So that will smoke up the house. But it goes quick. You're right. So it's just word to the wise. But you do want to sear it because the time that it spends in the oven is not going to be enough time to brown the tenderloin, and you won't get the flavor.
Yes. So I ended up having this like 2 nights. So the first night we just ate it, I think with a salad, and I don't know, maybe I made some pasta or something. I'm not really sure. And then the second night I had leftovers, and in the Sam Sifton See You on Sunday book that we got a couple weeks ago has a Cuban black beans and rice. So I just kind of sliced up the rest of it, and we had that for the second night, which was delicious.
Yum.
Yeah, and so this kind of gave me 2 nice meals. Again, Ryan is still traveling. He is in D.C., speaking of. And so it was just me and the kids. So for that, we were able to kind of make 2 meals out of this, and I thought it was delicious.
Yeah, I got grocery delivery because I've been super busy, and they gave me a 2-pound pork loin roast.
Oh.
Which I'd never seen before. It was huge. And I was very nervous about this.
For you.
I know, it's a lot. And I was like, I don't have space in the freezer. I guess I'm just going to make this. And like James he'll eat it in sandwiches. Like this is, like we'll be fine. We'll probably eat it up.
Yeah.
And so it did take a longer to cook. I did, because it was 2 pounds, use the entire marinade. And I'm glad I did that. Like I didn't have any quote unquote sauce at the end.
Okay, sure.
But it worked great. I mean, also, because I've been busy, hence the grocery delivery, I only had 2 hours to marinate the pork. How long did you go for on yours?
I did, I think, like a full 24 hours almost. Because I started this, I got it, and I just put it in, and then I think I made it the next day. So, whatever it was.
No. Yeah, I think that's, I did 2 hours, and I still thought it had plenty of flavor. It would have been obviously like better with, I'm sure, like 24 hours, but I thought it was fine. So, I mean, this was good. It was sweet, but not too hot. Like you said, I would give this a 4 out of 5. How about you?
Yeah, I would too. I thought this kind of tasted a little summery to me too. I thought, I'm going to pull this back out. I don't know, on the grill maybe.
Solid recipe. It may be, on the grill's a great idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so next up, marinated tofu with peanuts and charred bean sprouts from Bon Appetit.
I will admit, I chose this recipe for some of the same reasons as the pork tenderloin, which is tofu is such a weeknight-friendly protein, and I wanted to get a little more love, So this is a super simple marinade that has a little heat from jalapenos, but a little saltiness and savoriness from soy sauce, and then just a little sweet from brown sugar. That's actually the only real ingredient, and a little kick from ginger. So that's the only ingredients actually in the marinade. So to make it, you press your tofu for about a half an hour and cut it into cubes. And then you whisk together a sliced jalapeno, soy sauce, brown sugar, and ginger in a small bowl and pour it over the tofu. Like it's a very simple marinade. And then you just toss a coat, let sit at least 30 minutes. And meanwhile, you make a bunch of white rice, and separately you heat up a skillet nice and hot. Take like handfuls of bean sprouts and then throw them into an oiled skillet, letting them sit until they're charred a bit. And that's it. In this recipe, you don't actually cook the tofu, which I was like, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I don't have to wipe out my skillet after the bean sprouts. Like I'm literally done now. So you just kind of make a big platter of the rice on the bottom, the charred sprouts, the tofu, and then you add a little bit of chopped peanuts and mint. Lime wedges go on the side for the table. I was curious, Betsy. I didn't know how this would go. So tell me how your family liked it.
So I left the jalapenos out because I was nervous about that, which I often do. But this is sort of right up my alley. And my kids love tofu. So this actually went over really well.
Oh, great.
And they love brown sugar. They like ginger. So without the jalapenos in there, it was the soy sauce, the brown sugar, the ginger. It was really
pretty friendly.
Sweet, salty, delicious meal. They kind of picked at the sprouts, ate them with their hands. I mean, I don't know. It made me think of my friend Amy, who's Vietnamese, has this great, it was almost like a pepper grinder, but she puts her peanuts in it, and it's like a peanut grinder.
Oh, you mentioned this, yes.
Yes, and this is another recipe where I thought, I I need one of those peanut grinders.
You sure do. I will always encourage people to get another kitchen tool. And this sounds amazing.
And I really like all these recipes, and I always think that like the chopped peanuts on top really do make a difference, and it makes it feel like a fun, meal.
Kind of like brings the meal together. And
it does,
your birthday's coming up, so maybe a peanut grinder's in your future, Betsy.
Oh, just nothing like dropping hints on the podcast. But yeah, I think you do. If you just had the rice and if you skipped the charred sprouts and the peanuts and the limes and things like that, I think this would feel a little bit flat. But if you do all of it together, it felt really bright and healthy for me. And we have done recipes similar to this before, kind of in the same vein, which are very complex. And so this was maybe you want to go after some of those flavors, but dial it way back in terms of what you're doing to, cooking wise.
Yeah. What I wrote down about this is it is about the sum of the parts. It's not about each individual piece. And I think if you, there are so few ingredients. I think if you're tempted to skip any, maybe just make yourself a sandwich because, all the pieces together don't take much time. And then you layer it up and you're like, oh, I made dinner, dinner.
Yeah.
Right. I loved the contrast too. Right. So you get the hot rice, the kind of cooler room temperature tofu, and then the bean sprouts. And then that, I agree. I would love a peanut grinder. That sounds amazing. Peanuts on top are so good. But the ingredients were hard to source.
Yeah.
I also I knew the tofu wasn't going to be cooked. And so I spent the extra 50 cents for a local tofu that we have at Whole Foods.
Oh, delicious.
I got a little better tofu, right? Yeah. Or if you got a farmer's market, I know some places have farmer's markets will have a really good tofu, like a really super local, really fresh tofu. This would be a great thing to make with that because it's so simple and you could really taste this delicious fresh tofu, right? Yeah, I thought this was so good. And this also would be one of those, are you beginning vegetarian? Here is an option for you, right? That I would make for having people over for dinner. I mean, dinner party, but oh, come on over. It's vegetarian. Is it vegan? It's vegan, I suppose. It's nothing.
I don't see anything in here.
It's vegan. So, hey, man, hitting all the spots. I mean, this is I'm almost going to go 5 out of 5 for me because I did like it this much. I definitely will make it again. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I kind of giving it a 4 out of 5, high 4, maybe a 5. I think I'm going to be making this as the weather turns warmer. You must have had a little bit of a spring fever with this episode because all of these are making me think when it gets nicer out, I will definitely make this cooling tofu with the hot rice and the lime and
I know. It's almost March and I feel like I just can't. Well, this will come out in March, but right now it's almost March and I'm not sure I can do much more. The braise is, I might be over it.
Stew. We're doing cold tofu, guys. That's where we're at. All right. Last recipe today is shrimp marinade from Dinner at the Zoo.
Shrimp also is one of those things that takes a marinade super well. And for me, bonus, because that means you don't have to marinate it that long, which is great. So for this marinade, it is not a lot of ingredients. Olive oil, honey, a little soy sauce, a little lemon zest, parsley, thyme, and salt and pepper. You add in a little red pepper flakes and garlic powder too. And then just put a pound of shrimp in there and you let it marinate for at least an hour in the fridge. And she then says, cook them however you want, which I thought was actually, I was like, oh, all right. Thank you. So I chose to broil them, which all it meant is I dumped the shrimp out, sauce and all, onto a half sheet tray and then just stuck it under a 500-degree broiler, until they were done. And by done, they are translucent or they're opaque, right? They've curled a little bit. I think it took about 7 minutes. And while it was marinating, actually, I had made some more white rice because apparently that's all we eat, and just had the shrimp on top. And this came together so quickly. It was done in no time. What did you guys think?
Yeah, we love this one. And so we talked ahead of time because I said, my kids love shrimp and I don't make it so often if it goes on sale. Usually I just make it when we have it for the podcast, which is often enough. I don't know if I've really done a good shrimp marinade. I don't think about that as something to marinate.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about this kind of cooking. So that was kind of fun to experiment with. And they really were flavorful, like a delicious.
Yeah.
I don't know. So simple, so easy. Felt like a special thing that took me barely any time, which is, speaking my language.
That's your love language right there, Betsy.
Yeah.
If you have one. Yeah. And also I thought, like, why do I not broil shrimp more often? This was so easy.
I have never broiled shrimp. And I was like, well, this is, it's like, don't cook the tofu and broil your shrimp this week. It's.
You're like, you're hitting all my boxes, Kate.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I also really liked the marinade. It tasted like kind of a kissing cousin of shrimp scampi.
Yeah, that's a
little
weird
the garlic,
phrase, but yeah, sure. That's
okay. Do you want me to say close cousin? Put that in the podcast bloopers, Betsy.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Uh-huh.
If you want kind of like a what would this taste like, this is what it tasted like. Did you add in the red pepper flakes?
I sprinkled them on my own. I put them on some of them. I just did a little after sprinkle, and I used the Korean red pepper flakes.
Oh, that's a good idea. I use the quote unquote typical Italian ones, and it added some heat, which I actually we liked.
Yeah,
that was good.
Nice.
Yeah, and so if you don't have to serve it with rice, I could see this tossed in pasta, or I had it the next day cold on top of a big spinach salad, which was really good, right? And here's where I admit to something that Betsy normally you do, which is I maybe marinated these shrimp 15 minutes.
Yeah, you mentioned that you said I made these, and you actually don't have. It does not take that long to get some flavor out of these suckers. So
I was just like, I can't wait. I got home after a run or something, and James was like, "Where's dinner?" I was like, "I don't know. Why don't you And he, to be honest, he's never asking you where's dinner, but he's like, "I thought you were cooking something." I'm like, and just threw him in. And for me, this is living dangerously.
Yes, and you still got a lot of flavor. I
got a lot of flavor.
Maybe had a couple hours. I didn't have a full 24-hour on this, but I thought they were delicious. And you know what, Kate? When you said that you did the big spinach salad with them the next day, we did that Food and Wine lemony bulgur shrimp salad.
That's right.
We will link to it in the show notes. But I wonder if these shrimp would be fantastic in there.
Ooh,
a little extra flavor.
Hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Yeah. So this recipe, because it was so easy and so flavorful, was a 5 out of 5 for me. And it's almost all pantry items for that marinade. Olive oil, honey, soy sauce. The only thing you need to buy is lemon and parsley. I use dried thyme.
Yeah, so did I, because this time of year I just don't have that, and I'm not going to pay $1 million for thyme at the grocery store. Yeah, I'm the same on this. I will definitely use this again to make shrimp. I think before we started the podcast, I was very much a one note cook on the shrimp. I would just make the same thing over and over again. And so I love that I'm getting these new ideas.
So fun. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping it up, talking about our winners. My winner this week has got to be the shrimp. It was so quick, so easy, and so tasty.
I'm going with the tofu because I am always looking for more tofu recipes because it's just something we love to eat. And this was fun. A little out of the box.
So if any of these recipes sound good to you, make sure to check out our show notes and our grocery list at dinnersisters.com. There we have all sorts of stuff, links to all the recipes so you can find them, any tips or techniques we talked about. My 15-minute marinade technique may or may not make it in there. We'll see. If you'd like to chat more with us, you can always ask to join our Dinner Sisters Facebook group. We're at Dinner Sisters Podcast. So all you have to do when you're on Facebook is search for Dinner Sisters Podcast, all one word, and you will find us.
All right, Kate, before we head to the smorgasbord, a break. All right, so today on the smorgasbord, I'm going to talk about some marinating tips and tricks. And Kate, you have some updates and then a baking project.
Sure do.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us all about marinades, Betsy.
Yes, one fun trick I've seen a few places, I have not tried yet, but I am going to now after this episode, is to put your protein in a marinade before you freeze it. So portion out if you're going to do your pork loin or whatever, but you want to maybe eat it in 2 weeks and you're buying in bulk, you can just freeze it right in the marinade. That way when it's thawing in your fridge, it is going through that marinating time. And then
love that idea.
You have just like a ready-made marinated chicken, pork, whatever you're doing, which I think is like a nice little kitchen hack.
Love that.
A funny marinating story and just like a word to the wise. So I was at a family gathering over the summer and we were making, these are my in-laws. Kate was not there.
I was not there.
We were making lots of kebabs, like kebabs for 30 or whatever. And I was at the chicken station and we're chicken marinating and we're doing this. And someone came over and was just going to use like a little scoop of the marinating sauce that all the chicken had come out of at this point. Right?
Oh.
So I knew that it was a marinade that the chicken had been sitting in, but the bowl was still out on the table. So at that point it looked like
this is
sauce.
A sauce for the table.
Yes. And I happened to see it and I was like, oh my goodness, that was chicken marinade like 3 minutes ago. And so I quick grabbed it and then I grabbed the other marinades because we just were assembling the skewers.
Sure, you're doing so many of them.
You know, you're like assembling and grilling and there's the pasta salad's kind of in the same area. And anyways, that was just a lesson I learned, which is kind of like the hot glass looks like cold glass.
Yes. Chicken marinade looks like non-chicken marinade.
Yes, looks like it could just be the dressing or sauce if the actual chicken is not in there. So that's my little marinade anecdote and hopefully a food safety tip for people. Yeah. All right. So give us your updates and tell us about your baking project.
All right, so updates. I think one of the pieces that we both admitted to is we couldn't find malted milk, but apparently everyone else can find it. So
yeah, readily available.
Readily available. Y'all are probably fine. We are the only people that could not find malted milk. I even had someone tell me where I could find it in my specific grocery store, which was so nice. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go right back there, and it's probably right in front of me. So this particular person said, if you're in Rhode Island, East Side Market has it by the hot chocolate making stuff. And I was like, oh.
Kate, I love that.
I love that. So
can I
thank
tell you that we have the most amazing community and
we sure do.
Just of all the podcasts, I really think. So
agreed.
That's the takeaway on the malted
definitely
milk.
The best. Yeah. So malted milk is where it's at. And then the other thing I wanted to update folks on is, so lately I've been really into having a slice of quick bread for breakfast because who doesn't want to do that?
Yum. Okay.
You know, right?
Yeah.
And so I was making our seeded whole wheat banana bread, which I think I put on Instagram stories a while back. Mm-hmm. And that's been delicious. But you eat a week of that and you're kind of over seeded whole wheat banana bread.
Right.
And so I was looking around for another recipe I didn't want something that was just straight white flour because that's not great in the morning to eat. So I've been looking for a whole wheat style quick bread that I could make and then eat over the course of the week. And I found one on Washington Post. It was April of last year, and I don't subscribe to the Washington Post anymore. And so it was just part of the recipes that I, get per month or whatever they get. And it is their honey molasses wheat bread. And I would describe it, if you're a person who grew up in New England, it is a kind of in the same category as maybe the brown bread. Mm-hmm. Kind of thing that's like a round brown. So it's very whole wheaty, has definitely that molasses to it, not too sweet. I've been cutting slices of it and toasting it and eating with cream cheese and jam.
Yum. That sounds
amazing.
Delicious.
It's so good. And Betsy, it is a 1 bowl bread and you mix it you dump all the ingredients in, mm-hmm. which is just like whole wheat flour, egg, honey, molasses, buttermilk, egg. Probably missing something, but that's the basic ingredients. And you just mix it for 75 strokes.
Oh.
Right?
Fun. Okay.
So I can imagine your girls like counting out 75 strokes. I think that would be hilarious. And then you put it in the pan and that's it. Bake it for, 45 minutes. It's not too sweet. Got that molasses, but delicious.
Yeah. That sounds great. I like that idea of a kind of a nice, different quick bread toast in the morning. Mm-hmm. Changes up the breakfast routine.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so coming up next week, Kate, we are bringing the heat.
We certainly are. We are talking about all things spicy. You and I kind of thought of this episode over a text string. Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah.
what could be some new episodes? You're like, what about spicy? So we brainstormed all these ideas. One thing that I think we're doing that is going to be really fun is one of my favorite Korean stews, which is kimchi jjigae, which is basically a kimchi stew, but it's in the Instant Pot. So it's got that kimchi spice to it, a little bit of pork belly, some tofu. Sounds really good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I am looking forward to a Caribbean, like, pineapple jerk chicken, which I think will be also really good. And when we had looked at our whole catalog of episodes, we thought, we haven't done one where we really cranked up the heat yet.
Yeah. So
here we
buckle
go.
up, kids. Buckle up.
All right, that's what's for dinner this week. See you next time on The Dinner Sisters. We'll save a spot at the table for you.
Would you like a little dinner in your inbox every week? Subscribe to our newsletter by going to our website at dinnersisters.com. There we also have show notes, anything we talked about, and other fun stuff. If you have some dinner ideas, you can always send us an email at dinnersisterspodcast@gmail.com. Lastly, as per usual, if you like what you're hearing, please review and subscribe, and maybe tell a friend. That's how people get to know us. Thanks, and happy eating.